Shalom, my friends. Welcome to Weekly Parsha with Yehuda. This week's Parsha is Vayigash. Oh my gosh, it is Vayigash, another Vayi Parsha, right? Me Kates, we got a little break from the cavalcade of Vayi prefix Parshiot, but we're back in Vayi land. All right, so let's get into it. So here we have the resolution to the cliffhanger of Benjamin being accused of stealing, basically framed by Joseph, to say that he stole the goblet. Then you have Judah sacrificing himself so that Benjamin doesn't get taken captive, because Judah and the brothers are completely oblivious to the fact that Joseph is basically playing them by pretending like Benjamin stole the goblet when Benjamin did nothing of the sort. It was planted there by Joseph. And Judah, our hero, comes out and says, "Please, my lord, let now your servant speak something into my lord's ears, and let not your wrath be kindled against your servant, for you are like Pharaoh." He's saying this to Joseph, his brother. And they talk about, basically Judah is pleading for this. And what ends up happening is he says, "And your servant, my father, said to us, you know that my wife bore to me 2 children, and one went away from me. He has surely been torn to pieces," right? The dramatic irony, we think, we know that he wasn't torn to pieces. But that was, he's saying this all to Joseph. "And now, if you take this one too away from me, my misfortune befalls him. You will bring down my hoary head in misery to the grave. And now when I come to your servant, my father, the boy is not with us, since his soul is attached to the boy's soul." So he's saying, our father he's not going to be able to take this, that both of the boys are gone. "And it will come to pass that when he sees that the boy is gone, he will die, and his servants will have been brought down the hoary head of your servant, our father, in grief to the grave." That, Jacob, it's gonna kill Jacob, knowing that both of Rachel's children were, would have been taken away from him. First Joseph, now Benjamin. And he says, this is the big sacrifice of Judah. And he says, "So now please let your servant Judah stay instead of the boy as a slave to my lord, and may the boy grow up with his brothers." So Judah is making that noble sacrifice. And he says here, "For your servant assumed responsibility for the boy of my father, saying, if I do not bring him to you, I will have sinned against my father forever." Right? This was Judah's promise to his father Jacob, that if he isn't able to come back with Benjamin, then he will take responsibility as saying that he has sinned against his father forever. So instead, he sacrifices himself in place of Benjamin. He says, "How am I so to go up to my father if the boy is not with me? Let me not see the misery that will befall my father." He's saying it's going to kill him. This was too much for Joseph. It was too much. He had to. He said he couldn't bear. It says in the Torah that he couldn't bear what was happening, and he had to say, "Take everyone away from me." And no one stood with him. And Joseph, that's when he made himself made known to his brothers, when everybody had left. And he wept so loud the Egyptians heard. And then he says, "Ani Yosef," right? This is the climax of Bereshit, right? The big reveal. Is my father still alive? The brothers could not answer because they were just so shocked by all of this, right? And then he explains, "I'm Joseph, I'm that one that you were saying was torn to pieces." they're just completely shocked. Like, how could you? You were dead. We thought you weren't alive, or you were sold. Um, or I guess it was interesting because Judah said that he was. Wait, let's go back and look at that real quick because I'm curious because it says he was torn to pieces. What does Rashi say on that? I guess he doesn't say anything, but it's interesting to think that, yeah, was he sold into slavery? Was he not sold into slavery? Like, what is their impression of this? Right. Well, fine. Either way, um, yeah, it's interesting to note, just that this is how he reveals himself, and the brothers are startled from all of this, and yeah, okay, so someone in my last video wanted me to make another parallel to what Christians like to do with this. Of course, Christians like to look at this passage and say that this is sort of like, the Jews rejecting the Messiah, in terms of the way the New Testament interprets it. Obviously, that's not what's happening here, right? You have Joseph. Joseph is not Judah, right? Judah is a completely different tribe from Joseph, right? It was Judah, right, that was trying to, in place of Benjamin, right? He wasn't sacrificing his life on a cross or anything, right? What Judah was doing was he was simply saying that he was going to be in servitude to Joseph. These parallels that Christians try to bring up, right? So here you have two individuals. You have Joseph, who the brothers are rejecting, but then Judah himself, he's not even sacrificing himself physically, in this sort of like dying sense. He's just simply saying, put me in place of Benjamin as your servant, as a slave. So yeah, the parallels really break down. They're very weak, and I don't see why, Christians would find this story of the brothers to be compelling as a parallel, especially since there's really no. It's just a weak parallel. Like, it's just not. There's really nothing more to say. It's weak, and that's just one of the many reasons why we reject Jesus as the Messiah. But moving on, you did not know me here, but God, He made my father Pharaoh here. So he's just sort of explaining, that God's hand in all of this, and that they're going to dwell in the land of Goshen, and behold, your eyes as well as the eyes of my brother Benjamin that is speaking to you, right? So this is a heartfelt moment of Benjamin and Joseph, right? His only full brother, his youngest, the youngest of the brothers, and Pharaoh, and they're all coming together, and is excited. He's saying Joseph's brothers have come, and it's a joyous family reunion, and they get all sorts of goodies on their way to their journey. So they went up from Egypt, and they came to the land of Canaan to meet Jacob, and of course Jacob is elated to see that Joseph is still alive after all these years. Amazing, beautiful climax. And Israel said, sometimes he's referred to as Jacob, sometimes Israel. Enough, my son Joseph is alive, and I will go and see him before I die, right? So, and then we have sacrifices being made by Jacob, and visions in the night, and more prophetic ideas of going down to Egypt, and Joseph will place his hand in your eyes. And Jacob rose from Beersheba, and his sons carried their father Jacob and their children and their wives in the wagons that the Pharaohs had to carry him. And they took their livestock and possessions, and they acquired in the land of Canaan, and they came to Egypt, and Jacob and all his descendants with him. Right? So we have the family going there. And then it gives genealogical accounts of the sons of the the sons of the tribes, all 12 of the tribes. And this is the whole 70 souls that were going down to Egypt. I know there's discrepancies where people talk about, like in the New Testament here. I don't like to, personally, that's not one of my favorite ways to refute it. Whatever, some people really like to point that out. I find it to be kind of, pick your battles, that's okay, whatever. I don't know, there's a Septuagint translation, something. I just don't like to get involved in that, so that's not my style. If you like it, go for it. Nitpick about 70 souls or 72 or whatever it is. Be my guest. I have bigger fish to fry. So Jacob goes ahead of Joseph, so that's obviously foreshadowing of Judah's superiority ultimately in his hand in all of this. Right. So then you have Israel said to Joseph, I will die this time since I have seen your face and you are alive. So now he's old enough. He feels like he's fulfilled in his life. Beautiful, right? That now Jacob can die in peace, knowing that Joseph is safe all these years. And then we have cattle, Goshen. Sorry, I want to get past the more dry parts of this. They said to Pharaoh, we have come to sojourn in your land, and your servants and flocks have no pasture. So so they're all, famine swapping different lands depending on, where is best. According to the dreams that Joseph had, and it says, that Joseph had, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Oh, interesting. He blessed Pharaoh. So what does Rashi say on this? He says, according to the custom of all those who leave the presence of princes, they bless them and take their leave. Now, what blessing did he bless him? That the Nile should rise at his approach, because Egypt does not drink rainwater, but the Nile rises and waters it, since Jacob's blessing. Pharaoh would come to the Nile, and it would rise to greet him and water the land. Fascinating. Take it or leave it. Joseph settled his father and his brothers and gave them posterity in the land of Egypt and the best in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh mandated. Yeah, this is a nice wrap up to the saga of Joseph. He collected money in Egypt and brought money to Pharaoh's house, and livestock exchanges, a little more dry part of the Parsha. Animals, transferring populace. Yeah, okay. Fine. Crops, great, wonderful. And it says Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt and in the land of Goshen, and they acquired property in it, and they were prolific and multiplied greatly. So, wonderful. That is Vayigash, my friends. Tomorrow is the fast of Tevet. So I wish you all who are participating in this fast, Som Kal, have a meaningful fast. And, shalom and God bless. Thanks for watching.